Liv Tyler, born in 1977, emerges in 1994 in a landscape shaped by MTV and 1990s independent cinema. The daughter of Steven Tyler, she becomes a face of pop culture at the same time that she begins her feature film career. Her image encapsulates the shift from grunge aesthetics to youth stardom in that period. Catherine O'Hara, a Canadian actress, established herself in the 1970s on the American comedy scene. Coming from Toronto's improv circuit and the SCTV program, she took on varied roles, reflecting the expansion of television and sketch comedy in the post-Watergate era when satire and humor gained new cultural space. In 1892, the Swedish physician Gustav Zander developed a massage machine, among the earliest gym devices. Embedded in late 19th century mechanotherapy, it combined engineering, anatomy, and medicine, reflecting the industrial era's faith in standardized physical treatments and bodily hygiene in Europe. In Old Cairo, at the start of the 20th century, a woman threads through the crowded alleys of the Khan el-Khalili market. Egypt was living through the transition between the Ottoman legacy and British tutelage. Her attire, a simply cut kaftan, still in early urban dressmaking, reflects the persistence of local textile arts, among stalls of spices and weavers. In 1937, in Findlay, Texas, the post office functioned as the axis of local life. In the midst of the post-Depression period and under the New Deal, the agency routed letters, parcels, and paychecks connecting farms and roads. More than a public service, it was a meeting point. There, people read the news, arranged business, and maintained the cohesion of the community. In 1987, Courtney Thorne Smith appeared on the American scene amid the expansion of cable TV, the peak of high school comedies, and the newly created Fox channel. The industry was seeking young faces for light films and youth-oriented series. Her image marks the bridge between 1980s teen cinema and 1990s television dramas. Around 1930, in the Window Rock region, Arizona, within the Navajo Reservation, a lamb approaches a baby secured to the traditional cradle board. The scene reflects the dying pastoral way of life, when flocks of sheep, brought in the Spanish colonial era, sustained the economy, diet, and textiles such as blankets and rugs. Known as Cleopatra's Needle, the obelisk dates to the reign of Thutmose III and was erected in Heliopolis. Taken by the Romans to Alexandria in the 1st century BCE, it became a symbol of Egyptian antiquity. In 1879, Khedive Ismail donated the monolith to the city of New York. It arrived in 1880 and was erected in Central Park in 1881. In the 1950s, Elaine Stewart, actress and model, gained ground in Hollywood's studio system. Amid the post-war boom, her image circulated in magazines and posters, helping to promote color cinema and the star system, when the studios shaped careers and controlled mass publicity. In 1961, on the set of The Misfits, written by Arthur Miller and directed by John Huston, Marilyn Monroe worked under spotlights and personal crises, newly divorced from Miller. The production, the last complete performance for her and for Clark Gable, marked the turning point of the classic star system and recorded the tensions of a Hollywood in transition. Tomoko is an ancestral Maori practice in New Zealand. It arose in the pre-colonial Polynesian world and marks genealogy, status, and life passages. On the face and body, each pattern records IWI ties and personal deeds. Repressed in the 19th century by European contact, it regained strength at the end of the 20th century as cultural affirmation. In the 1950s, a milestone in the expansion of civil aviation after the war, airlines standardized onboard service as a symbol of trust. In the galley, the flight attendant organizes trays, heats meals, and coordinates service timing. On propeller aircraft with recently adopted pressurization, a common practice on long routes before the jet age. A man uses one of Alexander Graham Bell's early telephones. Published in the Detroit News between 1915 and 1925, the image recalls the invention patented in 1876 and the consolidation of the networks, when long-distance calls, such as the transcontinental call of 1915, spread in the U.S., marking the passage from laboratory experience to everyday use. In March 1912, The excavation of Tel Halaf in northeastern Syria by Max von Oppenheim's team revealed a monumental figure. The site, the ancient Aramean center of Guzana, Bit Bahiani, active between the 9th–8th centuries BCE, forms part of the Neo-Hittite horizon of Upper Mesopotamia and sheds light on rituals and local power. In 1969, a worker appears on the exposed bed of Niagara Falls when the flow was diverted for inspection. The interruption, conducted to study erosion and the stability of the American Falls, allowed observation of the site's geology and the effects of tourism and engineering works on the course of the Niagara River by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. In the 1960s, Julie Newmar established herself in Hollywood, notably as Catwoman in the Batman series, 1966–67. Born in August 1933, her trajectory intersected with the expansion of TV and the changes in social mores of the time, when female roles gained visibility and ambiguity. The image reflects this cultural turn. In 1936, the Mercury train of the New York Central Railroad crosses in front of City Hall. Designed by Henry Dreyfuss at the height of streamlining, it symbolizes the railroad's attempt to win back riders after the 1929 crash, showcasing technical modernization and the integration of transport into the urban scene, especially in industrial cities. In 1911, in southern Ohio, a family poses in front of their washing machine. The appliance, then a novelty, manual or powered by a small motor, belongs to the first domestic goods of the industrial era. It marks the shift of laundry work from the backyard to inside the house and heralds the emerging culture of urban consumption. In the 1940s, Martha Heyer began her path in Hollywood, still under the studio system and the context of the Second World War. In RKO and Universal Productions, she took on supporting roles that projected her into the post-war period. The image refers to this transitional period, when the studio's shaped careers in cinema sought new faces. On June 22, 1900, the portrait of Joseph Two Bulls, a member of the Dakota Sioux people, was recorded. The image arises in the context of assimilation policies and the reservation system in the U.S., when ethnographic portraits sought to catalog Native peoples. His gaze affirms identity amid colonial pressure. A 1957 photo, taken in Queensland, records the only known image of an 8.5 m, c. 28 feet, crocodile killed in the region. The frame documents hunting practices then common in post-war Australia before wildlife protection policies and reveals the human relationship with large predators in that period. In 1936, in the interwar climate and amid the expansion of the automobile in Paris, a plan emerged to allow cars access to the second floor of the Eiffel Tower. The proposal reflected the quest to modernize the 1889 exposition structure and fueled debates about mobility, tourism, and the limits of intervening in a national symbol. In the image, in 1987, in Germany still marked by the Cold War, an unusual final exam was held for police service dogs, staying calm in front of a cat. The test, tied to the training of K9 units, measured focus and self-control essential for patrols, riot control, and urban tasks under distractions. In 1918, Leola King took the post of traffic police officer, cited as the first woman in that role in the United States. Amid the post-World War I period and the expansion of automobiles, her presence in the streets signaled the gradual opening of police forces to women and redefined roles in public service. In 1956, Natalie Wood was consolidating her rise in post-war Hollywood. Coming off the success of Rebel Without a Cause and appearing in The Searchers, she became a face of the transition from the classic studio to the youth star system. The image records the artist at the moment when her career was taking hold at the center of mass culture. In Paris, 1950, in the post-war period, prettiest legs contests were part of popular leisure and the spectacle economy. In a square, women paraded before a curious public, while a man in a dark suit served as judge. The scene reflects booming tourism and gender norms that were still rigid. In the photograph, a 17-year-old shows off his customized Vespa. The gesture synthesizes youth culture of the 1950s-60s, when the scooter created by Piaggio in the post-war period made urban mobility cheaper. Among workshops and clubs, customizing the vehicle marked belonging and autonomy in cities undergoing modernization. In 1931, Thelma Todd was at her peak in pre-code Hollywood, in the transition to sound cinema and in the midst of the Great Depression. Signed by Hal Roach, she alternated comic shorts with Zasu Pitts and roles in features such as Monkey Business, Marx Brothers, revealing versatility that served both escapism and the studio's box office. Quetzalcoatlus, a pterosaur from the end of the Cretaceous, c. 7066 MA, is considered the largest known flying animal. With a wingspan of up to 11 m, it lived on the plains of what is now Texas, possibly a hunter or a scavenger. Named after a Mesoamerican deity, its discovery in the 1970s redefined our view of prehistoric flight. The image records a 1960s artifact, the hands-free telephone mask. Amid the expansion of networks and the repetitive work of operators and salespeople, the mouthpiece strapped to the face freed the hands, a response to the productivity and ergonomics demands of offices and call centers of the time. In 1870, already at the beginning of the Meiji government after the fall of the Tokugawa shogunate and the Boshin War, the image of a samurai and his retainers, in chainmail and armed with naginatas, records a link to the feudal order in dissolution, on the eve of the reforms that extinguished the class's privileges and reshaped the army. Launched in 1954, the Messerschmitt Kabinenroller was a three-wheeled microcar born of Germany's post-war industrial reconversion. The aircraft manufacturer applied cockpit solutions to offer cheap mobility on austere streets. And here we wrap up our video. Subscribe, leave a like, and choose another to continue the trip into the past.